Hey everyone, it's Nick with Us versus Herd. We're going to be doing a thinkorswim versus tastyworks. We're going to be going over to the features, which one we think is better, which one, some things we like better in one platform, some things we like better in another platform. Leave a comment below if you use either of these platforms or why you made the switch from one to the other, or if you use a different platform entirely. Want to know what you have to say. So right now we're going to start off with the positions page. You visit a lot. It has the positions page on both of these. We have tastyworks, we have thinkorswim. Thinkorswim was bought by TD Ameritrade a few years ago, and if you don't know, the people behind thinkorswim actually developed tastyworks, which was released I think in January of 2017. So it's been about a year. And the reason why we haven't done a review like this sooner is because we weren't really using tastyworks. We had an account, but we weren't really using it too much because it wasn't ready for mainstream or active day traders. There were a lot of bugs with the software early on. We used it for some trades, and there were some bugs. We had some issues. They didn't have a mobile app, which is one key thing that I need to do, especially when I'm on the go. So we'll compare right now. We'll kind of go page by page. We'll do that. One thing that you do realize with tastyworks is it doesn't have a lot of what thinkorswim has, and it's not because they left features out. It's not because they didn't have time to develop it or in any case, but they purposely slimmed down tastyworks because they said they wanted to make it the fastest platform. They wanted to take all the clutter out. They wanted to take out anything that people use once in a blue moon and have this one be one of the fastest options trading platforms that there is out there. And I would say that it's pretty fast. So comparing the two position pages is very similar. In tastyworks, you have your positions here. You have your watch lists over here, and then in thinkorswim you have the same kind of thing. Sorry, excuse me. You have your positions here. You have your watch list here. The one thing that I would have to say is that there's not your watch list over in tastyworks is basically your positions. There's no way to create an actual watch list. Now on here on thinkorswim, you can create a watch list. You can delete one, you can edit one, you can create a new watch list, and then you can kind of split up your watch list that way. So if I wanted to add something to my watch list that I have in here, all you have to do is go to, this is my default watch list, go into here, put in a symbol or a company name, put in Walmart, click save, and then you can reposition them any way you want, and Walmart's down there now. In tastyworks, they don't really have that. They just take what your position list is, and if you don't have that huge of a position list, you're not gonna have a huge watch list for that. So they do provide some other watch lists. They have stuff that they stuff that they choose, notable stocks, high options volume. So these are pretty much like their scanners. We'll kind of get into that later. The other thing that I don't really like about tastyworks is that there's no way to organize these positions. Sometimes I have different trades going on for different reasons. Sometimes I have credit spreads. Sometimes I just have calls. Sometimes I just have puts that I bought outright. And in thinkorswim, you have a pretty nice, these are actually categories here. I don't have anything in them right now, but if you wanted to categorize this, let's say sometimes I categorize by expiration. So I'll go from I'll create a new group here, and we'll bring this over here. So if I want to create a new group, put here, this is the March. So sometimes I categorize it by expiration. These expire March 2018, and see how that kind of splits it up there. In tastyworks, they kind of have a running tally, and I don't have that many positions on right now, so it's not a big deal. But you can see how it could get confusing if you have a lot of different positions. Like right here, this is a domino. This is a credit spread. Facebook, I have a credit spread and I have a call. Different expirations, different strategies there, but you can see how it kind of gets mixed up there. GoPro, I just have puts. So sometimes I like to categorize that, especially when I have a lot of different trades on. Right now, I understand what is going on here, but sometimes when you want to look at your overall portfolio quickly, and you don't want to have to click on each thing, it's kind of nice to automatically have these things categorized. So in the way that you use them. But I do like the layout here. It does look a lot better than thinkorswim's thinkorswim's position list here. You have the change. The other thing that they do have here is you can kind of customize it, but tastyworks you can customize it as well. They have not as much, but that in tastyworks they pretty much just put in what they think is important, and most people don't use more than this anyway, so not a big deal. If you go to here, there's pretty much the same thing. So the position pages kind of vary a little bit. We'll go to probably one of the bigger things. They kind of go in order too. Positions, trade, kind of the same thing. So you monitor, trade is your position list. I do like the account statement on here. If you go to trade, you met with this. You can trade forex and futures and different things like that. On tastyworks, trade is pretty much what you have up here in the ticker. Your ticker symbol here. So they have table, they have curve, and they have active. Since the market's closed today, it's not going to be, obviously the prices aren't changing or anything like that. So on here, you got to put a ticker in. Well, so let's do Facebook just so you can kind of compare. And then we'll go to Facebook on here. Now we have positions on these, and as you can see, our positions are highlighted here. And on here, they're highlighted here as well. So we have a position here in thinkorswim as well. And the one thing I do like is that they show when the earnings date is come up here, January 31st. So that's kind of nice to know. So if you're buying something, you get this little flag here. If you don't do your due diligence, sometimes you're rushing to put a play on. Sometimes the market adjusts and you want to get a play on real quick. You may think twice if you know that earnings is coming up. On here, you're not going to really tell unless you really look it up. The one thing that I do like about thinkorswim is if you can customize this layout here. So I have it customized for. Show you how. So I got the last price. I like to see the open interest, probability in the money. You got the theta here. On here, it's very basic. So showing the same thing here. You got the probability of it being in the money. You got volume. You got bid and ask. That's pretty much it. You don't really have a way to filter it or change that in here. This is just general stuff. So that's customizing the watch lists, the lists. So you can't really customize this. I like to see open interest. Sometimes on some of the stocks that we trade here, open interest is key. Volume is important, but I also like to see what the open interest is, especially on something that maybe has low liquidity. The guys at tastyworks, they don't really trade low liquidity, and sometimes we do. Sometimes we find a good trade. Some of them, like Priceline, has low liquidity. Great trades, but sometimes it helps to see what the open interest is, because then you can see not only today's volume, but you can see how many contracts are currently open. For the table layout, for putting on trades, is kind of interesting. They automatically have these here for you, all the different kind of strategies for you to use. On thinkorswim, they don't really have that, but what you can do is, let's say you want to put a short spread on Facebook. You right click on it and you go to buy or sell, and basically if you want to have a credit spread, you go to sell, and then you would do a vertical. They also do iron condors. If you want to put an iron condor, it will automatically put on that. On tastyworks, it's kind of similar. But if you go to here, you can go to short and iron condor. Pretty much the same thing. The one thing that tastyworks does have that thinkorswim does not have is this curve display. And a lot of people do like the curve. It'll show you, kind of clear this out so it's not so cluttered. It'll show you what the standard deviations are. It'll show you the timeline here. It'll show you this is our current positions right now. But let's say you do let's put on something not so messy. Let's put on a short put vertical. Make this a little bigger. you can see. You can see with the deviations here. And some people prefer this. I really like the table layout just because I can see all the expirations. If you want to see from here, you have to like go through the time. I want to put on next week's, or I want to put on. Sometimes what I like to do is actually look at what the option pricing is, so I can determine if I'm getting a good deal or not. On the curve display, you can't really tell what option price it is unless you actually go there. So you can go, oh, what's next week's? Okay, these are about $555. These are $475. What's the month out? $710, $510. So you kind of have to go through it that way, and then you can adjust the different strikes here. We'll do a more in-depth tutorial later on how to actually use tastyworks, because for some it may be confusing. It's rather simple. You can see your credit down here. You can move the strikes. You can change the width. So if you want this wider, if you want it not as wide, you want it tighter. If you want a $2.50 spread, if you want a $5 spread, you go wider on that. That's actually a $7. So sometimes you can also drag and drop these, which a lot of people like. So you can kind of customize it that way. Some people are big fans of the drag and drop. Some people can't. They don't like all the clutter of the table. But I do like to look at all the pricing. Some people are more visual. So I think tastyworks is good for different visual traders, different people that want to that view the market differently. If you're a numbers person, definitely is this one. But if you need something more visual, if you want to see where all the standard deviations are, you want to see what the pricing is. They do have the pricing down here, but it doesn't give you what the true price is unless you actually go to that option. It does show you what the expiration date is here. It does have the limit price. The other thing that I do like is that tastyworks does have a web platform. It's pretty much the same thing, but if in case you're away from the computer or your phone doesn't work and you just want to hop on a computer quick, if you need to open a trade or close a trade or whatever the case is, you're at a friend's house and you don't have your stuff with you, you can also hop on the web platform. I'm not going to cover the web platform today just because it's pretty much the same as this. The activity page is pretty cool. I do like this. You can pull up your activity in thinkorswim, but you got to go to account statement, and then you got to pull up your trade history for the day and stuff like that. You can go back a day. You can go back 7 days. Since the market is closed, we don't have too many trades on here, but on here it's a little bit nicer. I do like this. This is today. These are orders I have, good to cancel the orders right here. And then you can go back 7 days as well, see all the orders that were filled on here. And if you didn't know, I actually did switch my main trading platform to tastyworks this year. I started a 2018 options trading challenge at the beginning of this year, and last year I spent about six grand on thinkorswim commissions. So my P&L for a small account for the trading challenge, I switched over to tastyworks to take advantage of that, so we can save some capital. However, thinkorswim did email me. They did lower my commissions to $1 open and $1 closing trade, and right now tastyworks is $1 to open and $0 to close minus plus clearinghouse fees. But so thinkorswim is still double. But if you do have thinkorswim and all you have to do is email them, say I want to move. I'm thinking about moving over to tastyworks. They'll definitely lower your commissions to kind of keep that business. The watch list here, it's pretty much the same as here, but on a bigger level. These are actually, you can't add or subtract to these. You can extract them. You can do different things, but you can change around. You can change around the table a little bit. But you can't actually, these are stuff that this is things that they pick, and you can hit the filter. The filter is pretty cool because you can kind of narrow down what you're looking for. You want high liquidity, you want only 4 stars or 3 stars, you want IB rank to be, you want anything above 75, that's kind of nice. You want, let's open this up, you want earnings, which ones have earnings in the next 20 days. You can see what's going on with that. You can see how about only earnings only, and you I kind of like that filter. So that's kind of nice to browse that, but you can't change this watch list. This is stuff picked by the tastyworks team. Those are the knowable stocks, and pretty much the same thing as the rest of these. So we won't go too much in detail of that. Tasty Trade on here, they have their own little video platform. It's kind of cool. I wouldn't say that they're advice is all that great. Sometimes you get a little thing. Sometimes it's entertaining, but most of it I wouldn't really pay attention to. They have their own trades and they do their own research and development team and all that, and you can get some tidbits from there, but I don't really follow their strategy. Now, for the biggest part is the charting. The charting on here, we can actually have an indicator on here as an open and close. Let's get rid of it so you can see. Okay. So this is the charting. They only allow you to look at one stock at a time. You could pick, you want the daily. So, I mean, they have all the features here. If you want to look at the yearly chart, the daily chart, you can see volume. You can have other indicators added. They actually added some, pretty nice ones. I'm not really high on the MACD or anything like that. But they do have some charting here, and they actually cleaned this up a bit since they originally launched. When they originally launched, it was a lot rougher, and there was glitches with looking at some of the dates, and you can only pull up certain things. But they kind of fixed all that. And what I like about thinkorswim is on the charting here, I can have, depending on how many monitors I have going at one time, you can have a lot of different charts going at one time, or you can just have the one chart. This is a flexible grid. You can customize it any way that you want. You can go to the bigger chart, and you can just look at, and all this is customizable. I got IV rank here. It's customizable. I got, if you want to edit these, go to customize grid, and then you can add something to the right of it. You can close that out. You can add something to the bottom of it. It's kind of nice. And then they also have, actually, we're going to turn off customize. If you want level 2, you can look at level 2. You can look at, if you're buying versus selling stock. So these have a lot of different options. Like I said, tastyworks doesn't have those options, mainly because they just didn't want all this bloat. And the thing is, tastyworks is a lot faster because they don't have a lot of this stuff in here demanding data, and it's definitely a lot less demanding on your PC. I do get notices from time to time saying, hey, thinkorswim's using more memory than it's allotted. Please increase the memory and then restart the program. That's a common thing. You do need a pretty fast computer to run some of these programs. Tastyworks, not so much. You could actually just run this off the web platform if you wanted to. And let's see here, the history tab. This is just history of trades that you made. This is year to date. They pretty much have the same thing in thinkorswim. But a couple of things that I want to point out in thinkorswim that I do like. thinkorswim, I did put up a scanner. They have a nice little scanner. This is actually my IV scanner. What I did, you can adjust this. This will scan for implied volatility between 50 and 101%. Obviously, you can't go past 100%, but you just want to capture that stuff that's 100. So I picked volume as 1 million. Then you can adjust the price. So if you only want stocks that are more than $20 or more than $50 or whatever the case is, I just did $15 here. So this is my scanner that I like to use, and it picks up a lot of stocks. And pretty much sometimes I get a lot of plays off of this scanner because it is picking up stuff that's not given to me. It's stuff that I'm scanning for. My criteria in tastyworks, their kind of scanner under watchlist is stuff that they pick, good or bad, but they're pretty much filtering these. They're not giving you access to the full market. This gives you the access to the full market. You get to decide if you want to trade it or not. So the other thing that I like to use as well is the where is it? Under Analyze, it is the Earnings tab. This is kind of cool because it'll tell you when the earnings were or are going to happen. So this is Chipotle. Earnings up here. It'll also tell you what the implied move is. So this is saying it's going to be an implied move of $4.38 for next earnings on February 6th. Or this is also how they performed the last 7 earnings here. So that's kind of important to know. Also, I like on the chart, when you look at the chart here. We'll go back to Chipotle. It shows you when the earnings were on the chart and when the conference call was. This one doesn't really. Let's find something that's a little bit more dramatic. Get some nice bumps here. So you can kind of look at the chart and kind of understand why those moves happen. Oh, because of earnings, or instead of looking at the chart here, let's look up Apple for last year. Doesn't really show you too much detail. I don't think they have an earnings indicator, so you kind of have to guess on that if you were just looking at this. I mean, obviously we're using both platforms at the one time, but I'd really like to just slim down to one because it makes things a lot easier. But once you put your position on it, it's okay to manage it, So those are some of the key things I like in thinkorswim. Some of the things in tastyworks. Tastyworks is a lot cheaper in terms of commissions, and like I said, if you already have an account with thinkorswim or TD Ameritrade, they will definitely discount your rate if you tell them you're thinking about moving to tastyworks. So I would definitely take advantage of that as well. Now, to get to the mobile platform, let's minimize some of this stuff here. Now, the mobile platform, pretty much a mirror of the actual platform. This is tastyworks, obviously. You can customize these things here with the different things that you want. On here, they have a different view, so you can kind of view, if you had a different view of the market, you can kind of see, what the moves are. So I don't really use it because it's not really beneficial to me. But if you look at notable stocks, you can kind of get a better picture of, what's moving red, what's moving green. Like I said, they put a lot of time in trying to visually change the way you look at the market, which is interesting at times, but sometimes I feel like it's not needed entirely. The trade platform on here, what I don't like is, there's no charting, but if I go to trade, we'll just pick Amazon here. If I go to trade, I'm forced to use the curve display, and let's actually do a sellout vertical. Let's just pick it. I can't change the table format or any of the other ones. So you're stuck. If you want to trade on here, you're pretty much stuck with that. And then if you want to close your position, you can go to close or roll. You're stuck on here as well, so you can't really see a table layout. Your portfolio, I do like the portfolio layout a little bit better than some of the other ones on thinkorswim. The portfolio layout is pretty nice. I do like that you can see your profit and loss at open on here. I do like you can see your realized, so you can see your realized today or how much you actually realized in profit, because sometimes your profit and loss at open and profit and loss at day don't really tell you how much you actually realized when you close that trade out. So I do prefer that. Thinkorswim has profit loss open, profit loss day, but they don't have a realized today, which I think it's important to actually know what your realized gain or loss was, because sometimes some of these option prices get screwed at open or close, and then you'll see you're down $200 at close, but it's because the option prices on Google got messed up or something like that. But there is on here, you can see your activity. You can follow. This is basically their team trading. You can see what they're currently trading. thinkorswim has that, but not through the app. You can and thinkorswim has their own traders, but they don't really publish what they're actually trading. Let's go to the filter. You can filter these people, but yeah. So if you go to, let's pick this person. So if you look at these are right here opening orders. So these are opening orders. These are closing orders. So if you go to opening, and you say, oh, I want to trade this, or you're interested in this, you can go to click on trade. And it'll bring you right. So that's kind of cool. It'll bring you right to that actual trade. You can see how much the profit is, how much the loss would be. And you can kind of get a feel for how they trade versus how we trade or how you trade. We usually don't trade how they trade at all. So typically we don't follow them. But it's kind of interesting to see what people are interested in trading and kind of see what other people are doing right now. It's not something that we trade here, but it is interesting. The thinkorswim app, now, like I said, tastyworks is no way to add things to your watch list. It's very easy. I really like the thinkorswim app. This is my watch list that I showed you before, but you can easily add more by going to, like, let's say Walmart. We'll add again, and then you can go to the chart, and you can, right down here. It's actually on my watch list already, but I'll say add and remove. The other thing that tastyworks doesn't have is an alert system. I do like on my phone to add alerts for different stocks. Thinkorswim, the desktop app has it as well, but I do like to put in alerts for different stocks. So if a stock reaches above, it's pretty easy on here. So let's say if I wanted to create alert for Apple, let's go to alert. And if I want it to be, alert me at a certain price, alert me when it hits above 180, create alert. It'll create alert for me. So that's kind of cool. I like to get alerts. Kind of helps me manage. So if I create a watch list and say, hey, I want to know when Apple goes above 180, I can set this in here, so I don't have to remember anything. There's way too many stocks. It's hard to remember everything. So right now I'm using the alert system in thinkorswim. Also, their charting is pretty nice. If you go here, you can edit favorites. Like I like the 15-minute chart, but you can also add or whatever you want to do for. You can always edit and make pretty much customize this list any way that you like. The other thing on here that I like is the options list. They have the table format, and you can customize, what the columns are. You can also customize what is up in here. So they have this as well. So they have market cap and all this. You can put IV rank, and there's a whole list of, they're all there's so much stuff that has to be categorized. So if you don't know what you're looking for, so if I'm looking for like IV, you can click on IV percentile and throw it in there. So, and then you can kind of move it around. And then the other thing that I do like here is pretty cool, is it'll tell you what their value is, what their cash balance is. So you can see how much they don't do this for every stock, but for like the most popular ones, you look at, okay, how much does iPhone take of their business, how much is Mac, how much cash do they have? If you go to Tesla, it's a different story. It just saves you some time to research. They're negative $5 billion, but this is kind of nice. It shows you where the revenue comes from. So, those are the differences between the apps. This one is basically shows you positions. A lot of this stuff is redundant because they had the same thing on the desktop application, so we won't go through too much in detail. But if you pretty much use the desktop application, you pretty much pick up either of these apps and use them, whether you're on thinkorswim or tastyworks. So right now, like, the gist is we're using both. We like both platforms. We like the easy use of tastyworks. I like a lot of the more complex things in thinkorswim. As time goes on, I'm pretty sure that tastyworks will add more. But I want to see what you guys are using. What are you trading with? What do you prefer? Do you not like any of these? Like E-Trade? You like Schwab? What are you guys on? Leave a comment below. Like the video, and if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. We have videos coming out pretty much daily. We also have different challenges set up and different instructional videos. So, leave a comment, and if there's anything that I've missed or you'd like for me to touch on in the future, leave a comment below.